This is what we do every week, helping people out, diving a little bit deeper in that, talking about clearing, cleansing some of those things from your bodies, from your energy.
This is more my space. So Zach's more real estate space. I'm more in the energetics.
And you should listen to her because she's really freaking smart when it comes to these things.
He is like the happiest, most positive person that I know. So much so I'm like, is this real? Like, but it is.
I'm an expert in creative finance. Love creative finance. Talk to Face Off about that and all the wonderful things with that. Mindset and raising private capital.
I'm an energy healer. I teach intuitive development and spiritual mentor. And I help people learn about themselves and how to use their energy and the energy around them to create realities that they really enjoy and want.
Whatever comes up for you guys. That's the point. That's the beauty of you guys showing up here live for everything, is that we want to answer your questions. We want to dive deeper into your examples. We want to help you specifically. Hey there, everyone.
Hello.
Happy Monday. Here we are.
Monday.
We are back because we missed a week. Sorry about that. But it was Memorial Day, and I hope you were floating around somewhere nice and warm and watery and enjoying nature or loved ones or all of that. Barbecue, all that fun stuff. And refuel and recharge so that you guys can get after it again for the next week, right? You can't be working all the time. Holy smokes. How about a way to burn out, right? Exactly. So here we are. We love talking about energetic alignment, getting everything easily into our life, just pulling it right there, kind of like the law of attraction and many different things associated with that. Love that. And just getting your head in the right space because, you know, whether you have the right headspace, you know, you're going to attract those things that you want. But if you have the wrong headspace, you're just going to end up pushing all those things away that you want, thinking that you're going to get them, unfortunately. So it's just, here we are. Let's go have a wonderful, happy week. Whether you've had a shitty Monday and you want to have it a little bit better, or you've had a wonderful Monday and you just want to cap that off and have a great rest of your week. Let's love to hear from you and everything that's going on. So
yeah, feel free to say hey in the comments, whether you're watching live or the replay.
Yep. We always love seeing that, love engaging with you guys. So feel free, anytime you comment, we will see those. And so whatever's coming up for you, just let us know. And honestly, we'll probably shift things around just for whatever the heck you're talking about, because we love helping people out. Yeah. So fun stuff. So, oh my gosh.
Yeah. So this week, I've been wanting to talk about romantic relationships, and some people who watch this, I know they watch it a lot for the mindset aspect, or how we can use mindset to help attract success in our life. But what people don't realize is that how we show up in our romantic relationships is a wonderful mirror for how we show up in other areas of life and how we might sabotage ourselves in other areas of life. Because in romantic relationships, it really requires us to put everything out there, right? If you want a successful romantic relationship, it requires you to open your heart, to be vulnerable, to go for it, even if you don't know if it's going to work out. Yeah. And to just kind of hope that if you want it to work out, that it will. And also trusting that if it doesn't work out, it's this or something better. Right. And through my relationship with Zac, Monique, hello. Through my relationship with Zac, I've really been able to, and I can't speak for him, but I've been able to see how I have shown up in other areas of my life, because he is such a beautiful mirror for where I tend to sabotage myself in other areas, or where I really, or my strengths in other areas. And having to open up my heart to him in the beginning of the relationship, when it did not look like this relationship was going to end up with a ring on my finger and a baby in my uterus, I had to really trust and just keep showing up. And I think that this is a really beautiful topic to discuss because everybody wants love, right? Love is the one thing that we all crave. We all crave connection.
People love love.
Yes.
I love love. I just, love's great, right?
It is. And we all crave that connection. We all desire someone to see us and hold us in our worst moments, but lift us up in our best moments, right? And that's kind of how, like, we all want to experience this type of praise and acceptance and love in every single area of our life. We want to feel that in every area of our life. And I think that romantic relationships are a really great segue into talking about some of the other areas of our life, because like I said, we have to put it all out on the line in our relationships. And if you're not putting it out on the line with your career, with your health, with your body, with other relationships in your life, then you're not going to get what you want, right? But so many of us, we want to close our hearts before we even have the love that we desire, in fear of losing that. And so many of us also, we kind of, we press the quit button before we've achieved the level of success we want to achieve, in fear of not getting there, right? And so I think that when we break down these, it's just like, we're just going to have a conversation and stuff. And if you guys have questions, please put them in the comments. But as we break this stuff down, we can talk about how it like parlays over into other areas. But I really wanted to talk about romantic relationships because people look at our relationship and they're like, wow, you guys are so awesome. Like, you guys have such a great relationship. But it took a lot of work.
Yeah, it wasn't for lack of work, I'll tell you that.
And it takes a lot of work. And so does anything in which we want success.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So anything that you want to go after, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it, right? And everyone wants this thing, and yet people aren't willing to put in the work, or they end up just going after that one type that they think that they like, which might be emotionally unavailable, but we're not realizing that that's what we're attracting, right? I'm speaking from my experience, so I'll only pick on me, none of you guys, even if you're hearing this and it's relating, I'm talking about me right now. So, just follow along. It's fun. But yeah, so what we're really trying to do here is just show you how you can use your relationship to decode other problems in your life. So that's the idea. It's the sense, and a lot of what we always talk about is just making yourself aware, because once you become aware of something, then you can start to attack that problem, that issue, that thing that you don't like, and you can change it. Right. But if you're not aware of that problem, then you're just going along life willy-nilly, doing the same thing over and over and over, and you're getting those same problems that are coming up. So this is a real good way that whether you're interested in a relationship that you don't have yet, that's something that we could talk about. Or if you can just notice things in yourself from your past with other relationships, yes, you could get a great relationship, and you might be able to decode some other things in your life and find out why they're going the way that they're going. Just getting a little bit of insight like that can be invaluable to just changing your future. That's the fun thing about it. That's what's really fun about energetic alignment. I love it. And I always say, man, and that's the thing with relationships or anything that we do. I always say that the way you do one thing is the way that you do everything, right? So if you go after a problem and you're like, I'm going to go and solve this problem, you don't stop until you solve it. Well, you're probably acting like that in many different ways of life. So that's where I tell people, even when you're walking into someone else's house, okay, if you're talking to a seller, right? Real estate fund, segue, small sidebar. But if you're talking to a seller, you're going into their home, you're going into your friend's home, you're going into somebody else's home that you've never been in before. Are you going to take your shoes, you're going to kick them off all over the place, right? And then just walk in? Are you going to walk in even with your shoes? No, you shouldn't. You shouldn't. I would say the way that I do it, even more so, maybe not at my own home, but like when I go into someone else's home right away, I'm going to take off my shoes. Of course, even if they tell me not to, no, I'm going to take off my shoes, and then I'm going to align them perfectly perfectly with their mat, something, set them right next to each other, because that's the first indication, one of the first indications that that person in the home is getting of me, that friend of mine, or that spouse of that friend of mine is getting of me. They're going to be like, oh, wow, you know, he really cares. He doesn't want to trample a mess all over the place. He's putting everything neat. This must be a neat person who cares about other people. They're going to make those judgments instantly about you. So it's just, again, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. It's so true. So that's why it's really fun that we can go into relationships and talk about relationships, yet it can help us out with our business, with our family, with our finances, with even our body, you know, and our health and our body. It's funny how just everything ends up related, because it's our mind that's the common thread with everything. So it's once you can hack your mind, understand what's going on, you can get into that and you can just change the world, basically. So yeah, I love it. Here, way you do one thing is the way you do everything. I love that, you know.
Go to the comments.
Yeah. Right on.
Hey, Tammy.
Heck yeah,
hey,
Tammy.
Shane. Happy to have you.
Shane, you know we love you.
Yeah. So, okay. So
Happy Monday.
I kind of am wanting to make just like a mini series out of relationships. So for this week and maybe the next week or two, we'll see if we have any questions or anything. I want to discuss this, and then we'll give examples of how we can relate this to other areas of our life. But obviously, with the beginning of any relationship, you have to meet, right? So when Zac and I first met, it was not all butterflies and rainbows. To me, it was. To him, it wasn't.
Oh, it was to you?
Yeah. After our first date, I knew I wanted a second date. And that's how I knew that you were special, because up until then, I had been dating and I didn't even want second dates with people. And so when I met Zac and we had our first date, and I'm like, okay, I liked spending time with him. He was really funny. He was really smart. We had a very good intellectual connection. I know that you felt the same.
I love that. Yeah.
We can make jokes about similar things.
We could talk about things.
Yeah. And so we met on a dating app. So for those of you that bash dating apps, if you're single, I want to put this out there that it's not the dating app that's the issue. It's your energy about the dating app. Same thing with anything. It's not the job that's the issue. It's your energy about the job. It's not the deal that's the issue. It's your energy about the deal. Yep. It's not anything that's the issue. It's the energy that you are bringing to the table that needs to be addressed. Because when I got on the dating app that we met on, I was on there for about a month. I gave myself a month and I met him. And then we connected like the last week that I had it, and we had our first date. I wanted a second date, but it was COVID time. So I was traveling all over the place for like a month. I was gone. So our second date didn't happen for a month. And then we had our second date and a third date. And after the third date, I was very anxiously attached, and I didn't realize this until him, because I was coming out of a long-term toxic relationship. I had dated someone else in between that for a few months, but it wasn't anything serious. And then I had been dating other people. But when I met him, I'm like, okay, third date, I need to lock this down. Like, let's figure out where this is going.
Is that what you women think? Is that what you do?
That's what I did. But like, you didn't like it. You didn't like that because you felt pressured by
Judy.
me. Do you remember we had a phone conversation and I actually texted him and he didn't respond. So I texted him again and I'm like, can you not ignore me? He's like, I'm just really busy. Sorry. And I didn't realize how busy of a person he was until we started spending more time together. But we had a phone conversation and I was telling him that I really liked him and I wanted to see where this would go. And he's like, I just don't know. I don't know if you remember this, but I do. Okay. He's like, I just don't know. Like, okay, so this is where he was a little avoidant in his attachment, where I was anxious in my attachment. And I'll talk about how these show up in other areas of life too. So I was like, third day in, my mind was set like, okay, I need to lock this down or figure out where it's going because I can't let him get away. I have to strangle the energy around the relationship, right?
And I felt that though.
Yes,
I felt that at the same time. I'm like, it's getting a little strangly. She's getting a little clingy. And
well, it wasn't clingy. I just wanted to know where we were going. Okay.
Right? Dating life.
Okay,
oh
so
my
this
gosh.
is like a perfect example of like what your experiences might be completely different to another party's experience.
Oh yeah, guys, girls,
Perception
gals,
is everything.
everyone. Holy smokes, yeah. Yeah, your perception is your reality. But
so you were perceiving that I was clingy.
Well, I mean, in that moment, I'm like, she wants to start defining things. Here we go. What's going on? I'm like, I don't know where I'm at in this thing, except I do know. And I'm like, she's not my type.
You basically, that's what he told me. He's like, well, you're not,
who wants to hear
you're
that?
not typically the girl that I go after. And I'm like, yeah, you're not the typical guy that I go after either. That's why I think that this could be something, because clearly what I've been doing isn't working. So let me try something new, because what I've been doing has got me into the same shit show over and over again. And I told him that, and he's like, oh yeah, I don't really know. I'm like, what about this makes sense? Like, clearly what you've been doing hasn't worked either.
And so if you guys don't know, that was 2 years ago.
It was over 2 years. It was 2.5 years ago.
See, they will remember it a little bit better. One person will remember it better of the relationship. But 2 years ago, and now we are engaged, and she's my baby mama. Yeah. Baby mama. How many weeks? 24 weeks.
I'm 25 tomorrow.
25 weeks.
No, I'm 26 tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
I'm 26 weeks tomorrow.
Wow.
Okay. So I tell you that story because I was approaching the relationship very anxious. Like, I was anxious to get into a relationship. I was anxious to DTR. I was anxious to find the relationship. I was anxious to know that this was going to work out how I wanted it to. And because I was approaching it with this anxious energy, Zac, he was coming in with an avoidant energy. So hey Corey, so he was approaching it through the lens of, like, I don't really know. Like, he hadn't had time to think everything through. So some people with avoidant energy types can be overthinkers. Yeah,
so I'm a chronic overthinker, right? Engineer, architect, I mean, everything together where, terribly. We have to think everything through. Then once I make my decision, though, I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm in, and I don't have to check my notes. I'm just in at that point.
And I realized later in our relationship that I was anxiously attached to other things in my life, like to clients or to a certain income amount, or at one point in time, food. I had an eating disorder for about 8.5 years. So I was anxiously attached to food. And then I was like anxiously attached to exercise. So it showed up in other areas of my life, but it wasn't really illuminated to me until him. And because he was able to hold space for me to experience this stuff. And then he was such an overthinker, but I don't think anyone had ever really called you out about being such an overthinker and avoidant.
I think they just loved me and appreciated me for it until you called me out about it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I would point it out about how much he had to overthink everything, because he was like, that in this conversation that we had, he was like, well, I just don't think this, or I think that. And I'm like, what if you just, how does it feel? Like, how does it feel when we're together?
Yeah. And our guys, I don't know, chime in. Are you used to ever being asked how things feel all the time? I guess I wasn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't.
Because he would be telling me, well, when we spend time, like, I love spending time with you. I love how I feel when we're together. And so in my mind, I'm like,
true.
If you like how you feel when we're together, then why the hell are you so avoidant when it comes to just like defining what we're doing here, or like committing to me? And so it didn't make sense to me.
Because you're not my type. That has never worked out for me before. And so I have to chronically repeat the same mistakes over and over and over again.
And he was prepared to do that. So after that conversation, and again, this is like, I want to tell this story too, because so many people tell us what a great relationship we are, but they don't see all of the work that went into this relationship as well. And so I want you to know, like, what we have, what you guys see, what you guys think is so cute and like so adorable, and how happy we are. Like, this is available to everybody, because I don't think prior to us, either of us had really experienced a relationship like this.
No, very deep, gosh, she's so nurturing. She's so supportive. We are all about just helping each other. And she knows that I'm going to do something for her. We're not keeping score about anything like that. It's just, it's helping each other. It's the ebb and the flow of everything. And it feels so natural. And just to know that somebody has your back, it's everything that you would want in a relationship that, it was always just something lacking before.
Yeah. And so
for me.
Me too, for sure.
Okay.
Toxic relationships up until this point, or me trying to change the guys that I was with. So I had to accept that that's what he wanted. And once I accepted that, I was like, okay, well, I want something more. So I guess that if you don't want anything more, like there's no point in us maintaining a connection. And he was like, yeah, I agree. So we basically stopped talking for about a month. We broke up.
We didn't do anything.
Yeah, we didn't even do anything.
Yeah.
We had gone on 3 dates and that was it. And but you did cook for me. That was nice. But
heck yeah, guys, you got to lead with your strong leg forward.
Like one of the last times you cooked for me. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. So I'm kidding, honey. I'm kidding. You do cook. You cook for me. But yeah. So I just let it go. I let it go, even though I really, really liked him, and I knew I'm like, okay, there's something special about him and about like what we have experienced together. But I literally was just like, if it's meant to be, we'll find our way back together. And I let it go. And this is where a lot of people, they don't know how to let things go. Now, when I say I let it go, I mean, I stopped reaching out to him. I didn't I did end up finding him on Facebook. No, that's how we got our second date. I found you on Facebook and then I friended you on Facebook because I was thinking about you after our first date. So we were friends on Facebook, but like I wasn't stalking him. I wasn't doing anything like that. I was just dating. I'm like, okay, well, energetically, I need to remain open because this is not an option right now. So I'm going to remain open, and I continued dating. This was in like February of 2021. And so, yeah, I know. I remember every date. And so a lot of us, we hold on to what didn't work out and we make it mean something about ourselves. And we say like, oh, this didn't work out, so I'm not good enough, or what I want isn't going to work out, or the next time I try something, it all just ends up the same way, right? How many of us have thought that? I mean, you may have even thought that with all the people that you have dated.
Yeah. I mean, so whether you verbalize that to anyone or you just, you know, if you've thought these things before, where it's just, oh man, it's the same thing that's repeating itself. It's like, am I ever going to find someone? Is this online thing not for me? But then it's like, oh my gosh, how am I going to find someone just in the right grocery store right around me? So I have to live in the right place that I'm going to find that person. Statistically, the overthinker of me is just going insane at that point. So it's like, how can you maximize? Am I just going to live in the vegetable section of the grocery store to meet someone casually walking around? Like all the clerks would start to know me and think I'm the weirdo. But that might work, right? Who knows? But that's not how I had to happen. But no, I just thought I would go back to like the same old, go online dating is the worst. Yes, Corey.
See, but I said, are your energy towards online dating?
I mean, so
dictates your experience.
It can be the worst. It depends if you treat it like it's going to be the worst. If you don't put the good, happy energy into it, and even, gosh darn it, I would meet some people on there that are just, I was too happy, I was too friendly, and they were just like, this is really weird. Why are you acting so nice to me?
And that's the thing, and I loved how happy he was. Like, that's the reason my long-term relationship and I didn't work out, because he was nagging and complaining all the time. And so the thing that other people turned him away for, I loved and I totally embraced, and that's what really drew me to him.
And I started second guessing myself to be like, should I be this nice to people? Should I just be a jerk? Because jerks get the right attention and whatever. It's like those stories that are going on in your head. Oh
should
my
I
gosh.
morph my authentic expression to get what I want? How many of us have thought that?
Right.
In a relationship, in a job, in anything. And the point is, if you need to morph something about yourself, if your authentic expression is not enough, what you want is not for you.
Yeah, it's not in alignment with that. You're just
like, there is something better waiting for you.
There, absolutely, yeah.
Because Zac, he's told me stories of like some of the dates that he's been on where the girls would make comments just like how happy he is or like his personality. And I love how happy he is in his personality. And like I said, but up until the point that we met on a dating app, like I felt like I maybe cuss too much on dates, or I was too like in your face on dates, because I either like clam up and become very introverted, or I'm like the complete opposite in new experiences. And typically with dates, I'm like a little extrovert and I talk a little bit too much. And he was questioning, like, am I too nice? Am I too happy? But like, that's what drew me to him. And my extroverted personality, once we started seeing each other again, I think you realize how awesome I was.
It came eventually,
Yeah.
right? I'm slow to come around. I'm like a big old barge or something that's got to turn.
Yeah. So point being, if you need to shift something about yourself in order to like have that job or date that person, not worth it.
Yeah, no,
not worth it.
Don't do that. Don't change who you are, your character, what you enjoy doing, the way that you love feeling. Gosh, if you're thinking that you need to change that, whether it's for a relationship or for business, anything that you're doing, you're wrong, because you're going to be inauthentic. People are going to see that. They're going to feel that, and they might not verbalize something, but they might just shy away from you because they just feel that something is not right. It's not real. And the sellers can do the same thing. Any single thing in your life it can happen that way. People feel things that they can't verbalize. Even overthinkers like myself, I'm going to feel something and then I'm going to be like, what's going on here? Because this feels off, right? And even though this felt right, I was pushing away from it because
it didn't look how you thought it should, meaning me.
Oh gosh.
I'm a redhead. He didn't want to date a redhead or a twin
or a twin. It seems complicated. Right. So, problems. And
just to answer that question, Andreza, my parents love him and his parents love me.
Yeah. They absolutely,
I love his family
us
as well.
And everything like that. Yeah. And I love her family too.
So everybody approves. But okay. So after we had that conversation and then we decided to stop seeing each other, this is where intuition comes into play, people. So this is where like you have to get out of your head for things that you want. You have to trust your heart, even if it doesn't make sense. Even if your mind is telling you like, no, why don't you just skip that? Why don't you stay in? Doesn't make sense for you to do that. Doesn't make sense for you to go to that. Like you have too much going on, blah, blah, blah. So my friend that I had met years ago at a networking event, because I intuitively had a nudge to go to this event, he's one of my best friends to this day. He is an arcade game creator. So there was a new arcade place that opened up in Cuyahoga Falls, and which is like a nearby town for both of us because we were living in different places. And he's like, hey, this new arcade place opened up. Like, I really think that you'd like it. Why don't you go with me? And I did not care to go to arcade game places. I'm like, whatever, I don't care. But he asked me a few times and he's like, hey, we should go this weekend. So eventually I was like, yes, I'll go with you. Even though my mind was like, you could go to bed early, you could do anything other than go to this arcade game place with him. So then whatever, we ended up going and Zac was there. I ended up running into Zac about a half hour after I was there. Zac showed up and so I just walked up to him and I was just like, oh, hey, and like pat him on the shoulder just to get his attention, walked away, went to the bathroom. And I knew I looked really cute. So he was with his friend. and so I just said hi just to like get his attention. And then I went back to my friend. And then we eventually like ended up talking. So I would have never ran into him. And that's what like reignited us into this was that run-in. And because my sister decided to do this like running challenge, 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours.
4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours.
Yeah.
You catch that, guys?
Yeah.
That's
so we
ridiculous.
ran 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. And she does a crazy challenge every year. I've never done a challenge with her, but for some reason this year I was like, oh, that doesn't sound terrible. Like, I'll just do it with you.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And I didn't realize that Zac was so into running. Now I know he's a runner. He just trained me for my first half marathon. He loves running.
I love it.
But I didn't know this. I didn't know this when I did that with my sister. I just had an intuitive nudge to do this with her.
Yeah.
And then I had an intuitive nudge to go to the arcade place with my friend and ran into him. And he thought it was so cool that I was doing this running challenge. He did not think I was the type of
cool.
person.
Excuse me, because anyone that does ridiculous physical feats in their life, you just have to give lots of respect to that, right? Because I mean, it takes dedication, training. You can't give up among adversity that's out there, right? What a good metaphor for everything in life. So it's like when someone can do that in just the physical aspect of life, I know that that person is very impressive in other aspects of life. In fact, that's just part of the avatar of anyone that I like to work with in this world is some type of athlete or something like that. Someone who gets that because they understand that you're not going to get all those results right tomorrow, right now, right? You got to work towards something. So someone that has that ethic, that work ethic, that you're going to work towards something and you can hold that vision in the future and achieve that thing with effort and with just over and over trying, I can work with that person because I can teach them to do anything. I mean, I got her to run, even though she didn't really want to, but like just by doing that, she ended up running her first half marathon pregnant, doing all those things. So it's just, so that's very, very impressive. So once I saw that she was doing this impressive thing, I'm like, okay, all right, you're getting my attention now. You're like flexing in the mirror at me like, yo, I'm running. Do you like to run? You know, hey, bro, give me a break.
Do you want me to talk
but like,
that?
did you, that's how you sound in my mind, right? When you're running, doing some of that badass stuff. But no, I don't, did you even know that I like to run at the time?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
And I think that we had talked about you like running a Ragnar race, like one of those crazy races at one point in time, but like I didn't realize how much you loved to run. And when I said
so
yes to doing that with my sister, I didn't even like think like, oh, I'm gonna do this to show off.
No. I didn't feel that at all. I didn't feel that at all.
No, I know, but like I could like that has influenced my decisions in the past. Like, oh, if I like this guy, like I'm going to do this to impress him. Like
we were talking about, right? If you were just changing your behavior to all of a sudden now do this thing because you heard that this guy likes running, so you're doing that thing, you know, it would come across that way because you would probably point it out to me in a lot of different times. And you would have been disappointed how I wasn't giving you as much happiness for that as maybe I could, or that you would want, because it's so impressive for you because you're faking it. But to me, it's just like, oh yeah, it's impressive, but like, I want that to be just ingrained in your personality, your character. So yeah, when you fake it, anything, it doesn't work. I mean, there's that notion of fake it till you make it, guys. But I mean, yeah, that's like, not going to work.
Why are you doing what you're doing? So if you are someone,
there's another way. There's a better way. Whether it's business, real estate. Let's talk about real estate for a second. No, all right, that's fine. Or relationships. Or
but if you are someone like whether you're single and you want a relationship, whether you want to like climb a corporate ladder, or you're an entrepreneur and you just want to get to that next step in your business. Like, why are you taking the action that you're taking? Why are you doing what you're doing? Are you doing it for you? Are you doing it because it feels in alignment with you and with the type of person that you want to become? Or are you doing it in hopes that you're going to get the relationship, you're going to get to that next step, you're going to climb the ladder? Because when we do things because of the carrot on the stick that we're chasing, we're giving our power to that carrot.
Yeah.
But when we do things just because it feels in alignment, because it feels good, because it excites us, because it helps us tune in to the energy of our best and highest self, which is the version of you that has the relationship, that has the success, that has the health, the body that you want, right? When we take action for that reason and that reason only, then as a byproduct, we can't help but to receive those other things that we want as well. Okay. But when we take action because I'm trying to get his attention, or because I'm trying to like make myself appealing to clients or sellers or buyers, or because I'm trying to make myself appealing to my boss, or whatever it is. We're giving our power to that other entity. And then if it doesn't happen, what happens?
We feel terrible about ourselves.
You feel awful.
Yeah. And then it goes into a downward spiral, and then you either fake it more and it goes even down even more, or you just are in this low depressive state and you're like, I'm not even going to try.
Or you think, oh, well, that wasn't like, this is just how it works out for me. These are just the cards that I'm dealt. And what happens is you continue this cycle.
Thoughts.
I know.
Yeah.
You continue that cycle, and you continue to attract similar experiences, similar people into your life. Because in the past, that's why you've done things, right? Is to get the other person's attention, to get like, he was the first guy that I really just did things for me. Even though I liked him, I meditated on it all day long because I like couldn't stop thinking about him for that month that we didn't talk. And I was like actively thinking about him, but I didn't take action thinking, oh, maybe Zac will be here. Maybe Zac will see this, or maybe Zac will like this. Right? I did it because I'm like, what does Monique want? What does Monique like? What does Monique, what's the highest version of Monique that I can tap into? What's she doing? That's
what every guy really wants anyway. I would imagine is some empowered woman, strong, who has her desires, and it's not like you're just so off and you don't consider what I want or anything. You also are extremely empathic about helping anything, just us as a couple and growing. But she was doing her own thing, right? And you guys, you might hear that notion before. Just do your own thing, and you'll end up attracting the right person towards you. Shop at the right grocery store. So that's why I thought, like, I'm going to do my own thing over and over and over and over at this grocery store.
And doing our own thing does not mean sitting and wallowing within our feelings, right? Like, yeah, we want to feel our feelings, but we want to go live life. Like, Zac was a complement to the life I was already living. He didn't complete me. Aww. And I didn't complete him.
Ditto, babe.
We were complements to each other.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people who are seeking romantic partnership, they're looking for a completion. You are not something that needs completed.
Right on, Tammy.
You are whole as you are. Yay, Tammy. Oh, like Bob, yay. Hi, Debbie. Pino Rubino, you are so funny. You are whole as you are, right? And so seeking that completion in another person, in a job opportunity, in a number on the scale, you will never find it. You will always feel empty when you get there, because that other entity can never complete you. You have to realize, I complete myself by doing things for myself, by taking action that feels very nourishing for myself, by showing up in a way that I feel proud of, right? And so it's not something like, you're not looking for a completion. You complete you. You're looking for a complement to the life that you're already living. But if you're not living that life that is going to be complemented by your partner, by the weight loss or the health goal or the salary, and you're constantly putting that power into that thing, you're never going to realize that you have it, that it's here. And if I'm looking for completion in him, when he's here, I'm gonna be like, what else do I need to complete me?
Yeah, you're not
because he can never complete me.
You're not gonna feel complete at the end of the day.
You'll never feel complete.
You'll always be seeking more.
Yes, and therefore, when we sit in that wallowing and we sit in that energy of, I need this external thing to help me feel better, then we never achieve what we want, because we're not stepping into taking the action that the version of us is taking that has what we want. Does that make sense?
Let's repeat that a little slower.
So
I'm with you guys.
We are constantly saying, like, I need this thing to complete me, or I don't feel good enough without this thing, or I'm not worthy without this thing, this person, this salary, this number on the scale, whatever it
This
is.
deal, this bank account,
Yeah.
this anything that we're trying, this
Then
business. Yeah.
everything that we do, every action that we take is going to be drenched in that energy of I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy enough because I don't have that thing yet. Okay. So energetically, what's happening is you're separating yourself from that. Okay. But then what happens on a practical level is you begin taking action, but you're taking action in alignment with the version of you that doesn't feel good enough.
Yeah.
So then you're never going to get to your goal. If we can shift this to
Push that away. Yeah.
Yes.
Instead of that.
To understanding I'm good enough exactly as I am. And I'm going to have so much fun in my life as I'm on my journey to this thing, as I am calling this thing into my life, I'm going to enjoy the shit out of my life. And I'm going to have so much fun. I'm going to take care of me. I'm going to do what's best for me. I'm going to tune into the version of me that already has that thing that I want.
We've talked about that.
Yes. And I'm going to ask, what would they do today? How would they show up today?
How would
they feel about themselves today?
And then feel that thing now.
And then
Because
do
you
that.
can. Yeah.
And when you take that action, then you're aligning energetically to this version of you. So you're going to then take different action, which will put you in the place to find that thing, like in the arcade to run into each other. Because he was taking action to have fun with his friend. I was taking action to have fun with my friend. Neither of us were thinking about each other when we decided to go. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I really want you, like, if you need to rewatch this and watch that part a couple times, I want you all to really like tune into that, because that's what we did. We both were just living our lives. He was dating other people. I was still kind of dating, like going on dates with other people. He was going on dates with other people.
You went on dates with other people?
And that month in between.
Really?
I talked to you about it.
No, I knew, guys. Don't worry.
And so then after we ran into each other, he texted me and like congratulated me on that run, thought it was like the coolest thing. And I'm
That's
like, yeah,
cool.
I know, hair flip.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, flip it again. I got you.
And so then we just decided like, well, we really do like talking to each other. We really like the conversations that we have. We really like being around each other. So we're like, okay.
Really like the food that I cook. I know.
Maybe we can just be friends. Like maybe we can try the friend thing out for a little bit. We'll see.
I don't know what she was thinking about
We'll
that.
see what happens. I kind of thought like, okay, maybe if I'm friends with him, then we'll spend time together and he'll just see how awesome I am. But he agreed.
But it happened. So, I mean, what are you going to do? It sounds about right.
So, yeah. So for, I would say a couple months, we would just hang out randomly, like once or twice a week, which then turned into like 3 or 4 times a week, which then turned into like all the free time that we had. We were spending time together. Which
then turned into her telling me, oh, I don't have a place to stay. I really need a place to move into.
No,
my lease is coming
just
up
so
due.
happened that my lease was coming up that
so
June.
happened.
I was planning on moving to Arizona, but him and I were spending like 5 or 6 nights a week together. It was basically to the point where I was going over for dinner. I would sleep over. We'd have breakfast together. You'd go to work. I'd go back to my apartment to do work. And then I'd come back over when he got home. Or I'd come over earlier and start dinner for us.
Sounds great.
And so it just kind of evolved into this experience that didn't have a title for either of us.
Yeah. So it didn't have a title. So how did you feel about that?
So it drove me crazy at first. And
Okay,
because
fair.
that anxious attachment side of me, that part wanted to know what was happening so badly. But then that was my mind, right? My mind's like anxiously attached, like wanting to know, where is this going? What's happening? But I would tune into my heart, tune into my body. And this is why intuitive development is so important, people. This is why it's so important for you to develop a connection with your intuition, learn to trust it, build that muscle.
And I'm building mine
Yes.
all the time, more and more, guys. And it wasn't very strong, but I'm so
But
happy
we've been
because
working
I
on
see
it.
the effects of it all
Yes.
the time. So I'm just much more aware. It's almost like you're watching life in Technicolor as opposed to black and white, right? It's just so different when you can really hone into your intuition and use that as a tool along with your overthinking mind, but like use them in concert with each other. And then, yeah, you can see things so clearly where it's just like, that person, maybe a previous version of me would have gone towards that business partner or gone towards that deal or something like that. And it's just like, no, something feels off about it. So I'll bring it to her and then we'll talk about that as a normal conversation, just because that's becoming much more normal to me. And then the people that are in my life are easy and happy and relaxing, and it just makes life wonderful at the end of the day. And it's everything that I want. It's just those types of things. I don't want a chaotic life. I don't want something that's really stressful. I don't want something where I'm just always haphazard all the time, right?
Debbie, you're cracking me up. Yeah, but that's what the mind will present. If you are someone that either grew up in chaos or like through your college and grad school years were developing under a lot of chaos in a chaotic environment, you will gravitate towards that. You will subconsciously seek it out. And that's what you kind of did in the beginning months of our relationship before we kind of DTR'd. But like we were spending a lot of time together.
What is DTR?
Define the relationship, honey.
Oh, is that what that means? Oh no, I need
the lingo.
a dictionary
that's an
before
old
this.
One. That's an old, old one. Yeah.
So no one ever dropped the DTR bomb on me.
And so when like his mind, because he was so attached, like overthinking, you kind of did create chaos those first few months in summer fallish, right?
Okay.
Yeah. you were looking for it until we had to have like conversations about it, like,
okay.
And then you opened up to me about everything, but we'll get there.
Uh-oh.
And yeah, so yeah, we were spending time together in June. My lease was up. I was about to go to Arizona and live there. But Zach told me, and he said this, I remember it specifically. I was about to leave one morning. He's like, you can stay as long as you want. I'm like, okay. And I took that literally.
Yes, you did.
But I didn't move my stuff in. I moved into one of my friend's places in her basement. But I mean, I was over every day. It got to the point where we basically moved in together at the end of June. We were living together. When he was living in one of his rental properties, and we still hadn't defined the relationship. Oh, so you asked me a question of how did I feel about that? It drove me nuts. It drove me crazy. But when I tuned into my intuition, this was before we moved in together. When I tuned into my intuition, I would ask myself, like, is this worth pursuing? Is he worth pursuing? Is there something here? And I would always get a yes. And I made a deal with myself. As soon as my intuition felt like a no, or my body contracted around us being together, I would dip out. But even though my mind was creating the story around, he's not defining the relationship, you have no idea where his head's at, like, where is this going? And my mind wanted me to contract. My body, my intuition felt so expansive when we were together.
Interesting.
And like the conversations that we would have and the time that we would spend together was so much fun. You always did exactly what you said you would do. And that was so big for me.
The way you do one thing is the way you do everything.
And he showed up, like, even if he was working, if he said like, yes, let's do this, let's go there, I'll be ready by this time, I'd show up to his house and he was ready, even if he was like scrambling out the door, which not much has changed these days, but still, he always did what he said he was going to do. And that was so big for me because I had never had anyone show up for me like that. And that's what felt very expansive, even if not having a title felt very unsafe because it was unfamiliar for me. Us being together and your actions towards me felt very expansive and very safe. And so I followed that, knowing that if I ever got a no, you need to back out, I would have trusted and I would have let this go.
Yeah, no, I believe you.
Whatever.
Yeah.
What was your experience like, honey? Do you even remember in like spring of 2021?
Yeah, it was a little, chaotic. I had this girl that kept hanging around and coming to my place.
You kept inviting this girl over.
Yeah. hanging out with her. She was pretty cool, have good conversations, nice food. I think
You
eventually
cooked a lot.
you ended up cooking.
Yeah, you cooked a lot.
I didn't
in
think
those
you could
months.
cook.
He didn't think I could cook. I should have let him continue to think that.
Yeah, right. Lessons learned, everybody. Yeah. No, but it's wonder. She was open to different types of foods because everyone has different foods they tend to cook, I imagine. But she was just very open to lots of things, and everything was easy. That's what I probably liked the most. Is it felt easy, and it just felt like it was right. And you were super encouraging, super supportive of everything. I mean, it's funny. I say that she wasn't my type, yet I've always looked for an entrepreneur. Right. And I don't think I found someone quite like you yet. I always wanted someone that would be a power couple with me. I didn't know what the heck she did for a year into our relationship anyway. So yeah, that first year I was just confused. Right. But here we are doing something together. Then that's awesome. In my mind, that's just awesome. I wanted somebody athletic. I wanted someone that wanted to travel the world. I wanted someone that was open to being able to live in multiple houses throughout
like nature.
the year. You know, and so someone that had that freedom like a real estate investor can have, someone that loves nature, someone that had green eyes, you know. So there's so many different things. And the more that we just hung around each other, the more I just realized, okay, wait a second. I thought this girl is not my type yet. She's checking all the boxes that I want. So I'm like, okay, all right. So then it just started to evolve. It wasn't something that it was just overnight, right? I feel like it was
not.
this ramp up over the course of a year.
It really was. The first year-ish, the first like 8 months were lots of growth, lots of navigating conflict and chaos.
Yeah.
And self-sabotage that I think we'll talk about next week since we're almost to our time cap for this week. And that will be really good. How to navigate conflict and self-sabotage and how to communicate through it. Because that is something that so many people do not know how to do. Some conflict comes up in a relationship because, so we ended up moving in together basically end of June, but that's not when everything became all bubbly and running through a field of daisies. That's when like we had to buckle up because the next few months were a big like growth portal for both of us.
Yeah.
There was lots of conflict, lots of chaos, lots of self-sabotage techniques that showed up for both of us.
Yes.
And we had to learn how to navigate that. And this is something that when people bump into things that like what we experienced, they back out and they're like, nope, not doing this.
You're like, nope, you just
it.
See something. You're like, that thing right there is what I don't want. So I'm going this way.
Then they leave.
And it's just one thing, 100 things might be right, but then they see that one thing. It's like, nope, I've seen that before. I know what that means.
Yep.
And it's like, you just don't even give that opportunity to let the other person grow out of that. Or maybe it was just something where they had something like in that moment, but just having, for one, poison patience in yourself to understand that somebody might be triggered, understanding that people get triggered. And then for someone to act a certain way, you're like, all right, what part did I play in that? Either, in something I really did or something that she's feeling from that. What can I learn from this other person by the way that they're interacting with me? I'm not going to say treating me. I'm just going to say interacting with me, because they're all interactions and it's all communication. And whatever you're doing, that's why we're saying it's a mirror to everything. It's like, whether it's your business or your physical working out, it's just, the way you go and you approach that thing is just very, very similar. How you act in a relationship is very similar. How you attack problems. It's problems. How do you attack problems? How do you deal with them? When they come up, how do you feel? What do you do?
Even like on the flip side of that, it's sometimes a lot of us, we don't let things get really good. We sabotage them. We create problems because things start to feel good and it starts to feel foreign to our system. And we're used to that chaos, to that conflict, to that anxiety around situations, that when things start to feel good, And I know this is something I had to navigate a little later on in our relationship. That like when things start to feel really good, you look for ways to sabotage consciously or subconsciously. You will place yourself into situations that create that chaos and that conflict and that anxiety that you are used to, and that uncertainty that you're used to. And you might not even realize you're doing it. And that's why I love that you said, like, people will get into relationships and not give the other partner an opportunity to grow out of the identity that they've been carrying with them for decades, potentially. Right now, this isn't to say stay in toxic situations. And next week we can talk about the difference between toxic situations and just tumultuous situations that can lead to deeper understanding, increased vulnerability, a deepening of love, which I believe all of ours have. And but that's something that happens is we will try to find that if we don't believe that we're worthy of things being so good, we will try to ruin them for ourselves.
You've heard a friend that might be like, it's good now, but I'm just waiting for, the hammer to drop, the next foot to drop for, he seems all good right now. So he must be hiding all the bad stuff. Like, what do you mean must be hiding?
Or
like,
even
what the heck?
Yeah.
Why are you looking for that? Why are you attracting that? Can't you just assume that if this is how he is, this is how this person is, then that's how they are, right? But like if they're acting that way, and they're so wonderful, then they're treating you the right way. Yes, we might have an episode where we get emotional for something, and so we might act a slightly different way. That's when we need to pause and have patience and have communication about that. Understanding ourselves, why we're doing that, understanding the other person.
Which we'll go into next week.
Having all of that, because yes, I firmly believe that right now, whenever we have conflict, even though it's annoying because I know that we can be better, but it's something that we have to work through. And on the other side of that thing is just a better relationship. It's a stronger relationship. It's a deeper understanding of the other person. It's more of an appreciation for the other person. And I'm sure there's going to be some self-reflection that both of us will have. Because again, as long as you're just open to all of that, figuring out why is this person acting this way? And don't just wonder, ask them. Like ask them, they have the answers. Or that you'll be able to tease things out. That's why I love that you're so emotionally aware of everything and different traumas and different energies in your past, just things that have happened from your past, because you have to realize that your past has created you, who you are, good, bad, everything. It is who you are. So just accept those things. Love those previous versions that you were.
Yeah, don't try to run from them, because then they show up in relationships, in new jobs, in new opportunities. We hit plateaus with our body, and then we self-sabotage. This is where those past parts of us show up, because they're like, hey, I'm still here. You didn't really get rid of me. Right. And we don't want to get rid of them. We want to integrate them. We want to love them. And that's one thing that we both did, is we loved those parts in each other before we knew how to love them ourselves. Right. And I believe that everyone can find a partner like that, but we have to first be willing to let someone see those sides of us. And that's when we came up against some pretty big conflict, that he was willing to let me see sides of him, and I was willing to let him see sides of me that we had hidden in previous relationships. Right. And one thing that got me through, like, just that first summer together was, if my heart was open, what would I do right now? Even if I was hurting, even if I was upset, even if I was crying, if my heart was open, what action would I take right now? Because the easy thing to do is to shut our hearts down and to close them off and want to protect ourselves.
It's human nature to be protective.
Yeah. But what's really hard is to take action when we're in a space where we're hurting a little bit. Because one night he had told me he was just unsure of what was going to happen. He was unsure of where this was going. He felt like it was moving a little too fast. And I remember crying. I went in the bathroom and cried. And you're like, I knew that you were crying. Yeah. I went in the bathroom and cried. And I came back because we were about to go to bed right before we were sleeping. He said this, and I wanted to leave. I wanted to leave at that time because this was, I think, before my this was before my apartment lease was over. It was in June though. And I thought about leaving and just driving home, and I wanted to close my heart off so badly, but I went back in bed and I laid down and I turned my back to him, and he just asked if he could hold me and he could cuddle me. And
that's
everything
so sweet.
in my head was saying, fuck you. Why the fuck would I want to cuddle you right now? But my heart was like, yes, please. I need that. Like, yes, I want you to hold me. I want nothing more than to be in your arms right now. And so that was really the first time that I asked myself, like, if I listened to my heart, what would my heart want? And it wanted to cuddle him. And I swear to God, that was the first night I ever fell asleep actually cuddling someone, because I always like would roll away and then fall asleep. But I just remember like falling asleep. I think I woke up sometime early in the morning and we were still cuddling. And I think that made you think things differently too.
Yeah. Well, I understood that someone was going through all of these different thoughts and emotions could still then come back to, a grounded state like that. I'm like, that's great. Try and not get your ego, try and just, it's so much better. We kind of just, sometimes we have that issue where we think we just want to protect ourselves, or we're just like, you feel like I really want to do that, but you're stubborn. Like, I'm going to act this way. I'm just going to play this out. You almost feel like a little child in those moments. I hope I'm not the only one that feels that way. But I mean, it's like you can feel that, and then you have that decision. Are you going to act that childish, stubborn route, or are you going to do and make the situation? You can feel like, oh man, if I go this path, everything's going to be happy and roses. We're going to have a wonderful time. But gosh, yeah. So we go the other way. So we do have to wrap things up on this one. Do you want to kind of pull that in?
But yeah, so that's just what I kind of wanted to leave you guys with is this week, just start asking yourself, like, if my heart was open, what would I do right now? What action would I take right now if I trusted my heart? Because your intuition lies within your heart center, okay? Within the energy center of your heart. You don't have to know what that is. Just know that's like in this area, your intuition lies in here. And so when we can listen to our heart, then we can begin to take action that is going to lead us to something that is far greater than our mind could ever comprehend. And that's why our mind wants to protect us from that. Like, my mind didn't know that when we woke up the next morning, he would feel a little regretful for saying that and very apologetic. He would make me breakfast. We'd spend the day together and everything would turn out fine, right? My mind wanted to shut down and protect me. But my heart knew that if I could lead with it being open, there was a greater potential for something wonderful to come out of that. And so I just want you all this week to just think about that. If my heart was open, what action would I take right now? If I trusted my heart, what would I be doing differently right now? And just see, because there's going to be times when it's different than what your head is telling you to do.
I love it, guys, because when you ask yourself different questions, you're going to get different results. And so that's one of the things that I love about her is she's always going to challenge us, me, and all of you guys to have different questions, ask those different questions, challenge ourselves and those voices in our head a little differently than they've been challenged in the past. And so I love it. And that's why we do what we do. That's why we're here, just to share this journey with you guys.
Yeah. And you might notice that people respond to you differently when you act from your heart. Like, he responded to me differently when I acted from my heart versus if I would have listened to my mind, shut him out, stormed off, and just said, okay, screw you. Things probably would have turned out differently, right? People respond differently to you and they don't even know that they're doing it. Because it's an energetic thing. It happens subconsciously, happens without us even thinking about it. Okay. So listen to your heart. Just notice what happens this week. How do people respond differently to you? Even when we're in conflict these days, which is not anything what we used to experience. But if we can act from our heart, we respond to each other differently, obviously, right? And then the world responds to us differently. We've manifested so many amazing experiences just from acting from our heart. So, okay, we will talk about this more. Next week, we're going to go into how to navigate conflict, how to communicate clearly to your partner. And this communication can be used in any type of relationship, not just romantic relationships, but it's really helpful with romantic relationships. Debbie, I want to acknowledge that I saw your comment and thank you so much for that acknowledgement. I know times have changed and we have a wonderful resource, the internet. So we're so grateful that you guys are here with us, and we hope that you join us again next Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern, same place.
Every Monday, guys.
Yeah.
And feel free to always message us, comment,
ask
do
questions.
anything. We love, I don't want to say that we love hearing problems that are out there, but I mean, like, we are always
We love
open
supporting
to,
people
yeah. So, okay. See, that's why there's a
into
yin
your
and a
next
yang.
level.
Yeah, level up. But like, if you are hitting a wall with something, realize you're not alone. Reach out, and
Yeah.
wonderful things can happen.
Yeah.
Just believe that. Aw,
Oh,
thank you, Rihanna.
thanks.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
You guys are all wonderful,
Yeah.
by the way. We love everyone that's live with us now, and everyone that's watching later. We love all of you. So lots of love.
Yeah. All right. And we'll see you next week when we get into the juicy details of
Uh-oh.
stuff in our relationship.
Yeah.
And then obviously use them to share some lessons with you guys.
Awesome.
We hope that you have a wonderful week.
Because you will.
You will.
Take care, guys.
Yeah.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.